And for more on Ukraine, I spoke to Anders Aslund, a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute, and asked him about the energy reforms that the country needs.
It's certainly true that Ukraine needs energy reform, and I think that we should have clear what is the prime target. It is to fight corruption. All the really rich people in Ukraine have made their money on gas trade. And the game is simple. You get cheap gas at one price and sell it for 5 or 10 times higher price at another market. Then you become a billionaire very quickly. And that's how the billionaires have been coined. So the first thing you need to get these prices up, and that's in the IMF agreement. And at the same time, the global energy prices are falling, so you don't have to increase them that much. But the highest price increases are almost 4 times of household gas prices from the 1st of April. And we see no public protest. All the legislation has been adopted.
We got into this conflict and crisis, if you will, because of the pivot of Ukraine wanting to be closer with the West, specifically Europe. Russia did not like that. And here we are today. The people of Ukraine, do they feel that they want to continue moving to the left, so to speak, towards Europe, or is there a bit of a pause and uncertainty? And ultimately, I think that has to have a significant psychological impact, no matter which way you stand.
Well, there are pretty good opinion polls in Ukraine, and they show that a majority of the Ukrainians want closer cooperation with Europe, and 2/3 in the western half of the country. In the east, people are more mixed in their views.
And then you have, of course, this winter, the threats of cutting off gas supplies, not just through Ukraine, but also that obviously impacts all of its neighbors and the rest of Europe. As we exit winter, do you think that that leverage becomes to lessen greatly as the weather warms up?
Current leadership of the Ukrainian gas company essentially wants to minimize and soon stop gas trade with Russia, because this is the main corrupting influence on Ukraine. This is the way in which the Kremlin has bought Ukrainian leaders for the last couple of decades. And Ukraine can easily become much more energy efficient. Energy consumption fell by 16% last year, will probably fall as much this year. And then Ukraine can produce 60% of its own gas, and then take the rest from Europe, mainly from Norwegian Statoil through pipelines in Slovakia. Ukraine does not need Russian gas very soon.
The conflict, some critics have said that given the pivot to Europe could have done more. Now, I know there are some restrictions what they can and can't do, but in terms of what they could do, is there anything more that the West, specifically Europe, could do that they're not doing that you might think would be helpful in terms of a peacekeeping type of force?
So many things that Europe could have done, and Europe has done very little. It could put up more money. It could deliver arms. There's no reason not to deliver arms to a friendly neighboring country. Nobody thinks about sending European troops to Ukraine, but arms, it exists on a very small scale. And of course, Europe could have a more forceful diplomacy. In effect, now Europe is represented by German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
When you and I meet again next winter, what will we talk about?
I think that there is a chance that the Ukrainian economy will stabilize. And then that we could discuss, is economic growth really coming after a year of financial stabilization but economic contraction, if the war with Russia can be impeded.
Lastly and appropriately, Putin could probably end a lot of this tomorrow if he wanted to. And a lot of people are trying to guess what he wants. What is the end game of Moscow? What do you think it is?
President Putin has shown that he likes having destabilized territories around Russia. inside Russia, in Chechnya and the rest of the Northern Caucasus, in Abkhazia, South Ossetia and Georgia, in Transnistria, now Crimea, and also Donbass. So I think his purpose is not frozen conflicts, but a destabilization so that people see that it's terrible to be outside his range.